Well, today's Math in the News, it's almost as if the holidays got here early for me because we have met Mike McCarthy a few times on the program. However, it's always been over Skype. And now you're actually here. And it's been a few years since you were actually in Bakersfield as a student, because you were a student at CSUB. And how long ago was that? That's where we first met.
2011 was my last year.
Okay, so over a decade ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So from CSUB, you were drafted by the Boston Red Sox.
I was.
Yeah,
that's right.
It doesn't even come out of my mouth right because I don't like to say that kind of stuff. So you were with the Sox, and you were in their farm system, and you did pretty well in that farm system.
Yeah, made it to AAA.
Which is a whole lot more than a lot of people ever do.
Yeah, it was a good experience. Offered me the opportunity to travel the nation, to play all over the East Coast, and to actually play internationally as well. So I got to go to Australia in the off season and play there. So I really feel fortunate for the experience.
Good. So that experience then led you into coaching.
Somewhat. I was still trying to play.
Okay.
And then they told me, hey, you're still not good enough to play with us. So I had put my resume out there and, looking to play, but also knew that I was undergraduate degree in biology, hoping to become a doctor. And I was working on my master's degree while I was playing.
Okay.
And so teams were interested in that. Analytics came about. And there's a lot of mathematics and biomechanics, understanding how the body moves, how we can use data on the field. And it was an easy transition from that standpoint.
Good. So the first time we did a Skype was how many years ago? I mean, because we've done a few of them now.
It's 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Right in there, yeah.
And at that point, we were talking about, I think the last time was the substances was a big thing in baseball on the balls and stuff like that.
Right.
I know that you talked a little bit about the different types of pitches, how they're gripped, how they move, speeds and things like that, how it's affected air movement around it and things like that. Where are you now as far as your career in baseball?
So I just got back from Japan. I was helping coach over there.
I remember you were there pretty briefly though.
Yeah, for about 3 weeks.
I remember when you gave me the call saying you're going to Japan and then you're back pretty soon.
Yeah, I called you actually in the airport. I ended up seeing my parents before I left. And I have been with the San Diego Padres the last year. Went to Japan on a coach exchange program to work with Hideo Nomo and some players there. And while I was there, I actually interviewed to become the Oakland A's bullpen coach.
So that happened over there?
It did.
Okay.
Time zones and everything, that's a lot of math.
So when they're interviewing you as a pitching coach, what kinds of things did they ask you that may have thrown you off a little bit, but you think actually helped you land this position?
The big thing is about culture, right? I think people know that I know analytics and mathematics, biomechanics. That's evident in how I talk, the interviews I've done, maybe on websites or in interviews with podcasts. But then also they can see it on the field. They see us using the data and how our performance has improved. They want to know if the culture fits. Do you fit with the people, the coaching staff, the players? Do we feel like it's a good fit in the organization? And that's the main thing that they were most interested in. And,
now, when you did your interview, did you also say, I've done these Skype calls do the math? And, they were like, well, that's all you needed to say right there. Welcome aboard.
As soon as I mentioned the name Mike Kushine, they of course.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. So when do you need to report to the Oakland Athletics for this upcoming season?
So we'll be doing a lot of stuff through the computer, over Skype and Zoom and things of that nature. Officially, I'll get down there probably sometime in January.
Okay.
And then spring training will start February 14th, I believe. Pitchers and catchers are reporting this year.
All right, good. So a couple of things are going on with baseball. Obviously, the biggest news of the day is Aaron Judge signing for $360 million over 9 years.
We were all talking about it just now, the whole room, before we walked up there.
You were with San Diego, and San Diego just made a pitch to try to get him. But I think he wanted to be a Yankee overall, I think.
Your bias
I think
isn't coming out
a
at
little
all.
bit of money right there. So I'm very excited that you're here because baseball is in the news today. One of the big things that's going to happen, is it definitely happening this year in major leagues where there's going to be a clock for the guys on the mound?
Yeah.
So I know it's been used in minor league and college.
Right.
So how long is that clock? And is it when he receives the ball, when he hits the rubber? How does that all work?
Right. There are a lot of smaller details in how it works, but it's going to be a 30-second clock in between hitters. And then in between pitches is 15 seconds with nobody on base and 20 seconds with a runner on base. Now the batter has to be into the box by 8 seconds. And so these are new ways, similar to a shot clock when it first came out in basketball. We now have a shot clock in baseball.
Okay.
And so it's meant to help speed the game up, create more action, put balls in play more often, steal more bases, things of that nature. So.
Because I think even the bases they're talking about making second base bigger.
Yeah, every base, first, second, and third are all going to go from 15 inches to 18 inches. So we add about 3 inches in total, and then you're going to end up with about, I believe they said it'd be about 4 inches, 4.5 inches in between from base to base, which should cut down or improve the steal times for a runner, but also avoid more collisions. So it's injury prevention with performance.
Right, so you don't want people getting injured, but then you've also got guys that used to steal bases a lot and have these records going, hey, my record's going to be broken now because the bases are bigger and there's less distance, things like that.
Yeah.
That'll take care of itself in the meantime. But how do you now work with your staff with this clock now in play this year? How will things be different?
Right. So in my role in general, I'm going to work as a pitching coach or the assistant pitching coach and bullpen coach. So I'll help mainly with the relievers and prepping guys who are going in the game, where we're at, and who we're going to be facing in that part of the lineup. With the adaptation of this, if you have a guy like Trey Turner who's really fast on first base, or maybe he's coming up and we're going to be bringing a reliever in the game, he has to know this guy's really fast, he's going to try to steal bases, and he may need to be a little bit quicker to the plate in terms of his delivery time. So when he breaks his set and delivers the ball, so now the catcher has a chance to throw him out. So we're going to use that base size a little more. We're also going to use things like the field. So I can show you here on the board if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we look here on the board, and in the past what we've been able to do is if this is the field and the base is here, like that, we've been able to put as many fielders as we want and anywhere we want. Now, traditionally there's 4 infielders and 3 outfielders. So we've been able to take maybe 3 infielders and put them like this and stack this side for a left-handed hitter. So this left-handed hitter, we say, hey, he hits 75% of his ground balls go to the right side. So we're going to naturally put 3/4 of our infielders on that side, right? And one guy's still going to be over here. That's no longer a viable option. So now what we have to be able to do is do this. They're limiting 2 guys per side. So you can imagine there's an imaginary line here, and you have to keep 2 guys on each side, and they have to be on the dirt. They cannot be in the outfield anymore. So we've been able to put a guy in the outfield. So now they have to be on the dirt, and 2 guys have to remain on each side of that dotted line. And so that's creating a change in how we shift players. So if we know that 3/4 of his ground balls go this side, but we can only put 2 or 1/2 of our infielders, that's an advantage to the hitter and less to the pitcher.
And
so
hopefully you can get one of the other guys close to second base, close to that line,
right,
so that he can
move. So we'll be trying to maximize, maybe stretch him right into this area as close as possible,
right,
by putting him there and putting another infielder here and here. But they do have to be on that dirt, so they can no longer be in that outfield grass anymore, and they do have to be splitting that infield in half.
All right. Well, it sounds like a lot of things going on, and you got to have a very busy season coming up.
Amen to that.
So the season starts April, usually is when baseball season starts. You're with the Oakland Athletics, and if I'm not mistaken, in that field in Oakland, at that field, in the Coliseum, I think it's still called the Coliseum, right?
Yep.
If somebody from Bakersfield wanted to go up to Oakland and view a game, and they sat on the Oakland A side in the outfield, I think you guys are on the third base side?
We are.
The dugout?
Yeah.
You could be a baseball's throw away from Mike because the bullpens are on the field.
They are. Yeah.
So Harrison, if you go up to Oakland sometime and you're like, hey, Mike, he's going to be right there. Because I know a lot of
That's
bullpens,
right.
you guys are behind the walls and things like that,
Yeah.
so you guys will be very accessible to fans. But we do wish you all the luck, and we do appreciate you taking some time to come visit us today.
Thank you very much. It's
All
good
right.
to be here.
That's Mike McCarthy, and that is today's Math in the News.